Good morning, everyone. We are continuing here in the Kitzur Shulhan Aruch, and we're starting today a new chapter, Kuf Pei Hey, 185, Hilchos She'elo Uschiros, the laws of borrowing, renting, and employment. And these are actually very important halachas over here. Once again, the sensitivity that we have to other people's possessions. Hashoyel ayaseiche behema imetatli mechaveru. Somebody who borrows, or they rent an animal or other movable objects from their friend. They are not allowed to go and lend them or rent them out to someone else, unless they have the consent of the original owner. If I borrow my friend's car and then somebody would like to borrow it from me, I'm not allowed to let somebody else borrow it. My friend loaned it to me. He let me borrow it for my own personal needs. He didn't allow me to lend it out to somebody else. However, unless it's midas bailim, unless the original owner says, yes, you can borrow the car, and if there's somebody else who needs it, you can let them borrow it as well, then that would be considered consent. You'd be allowed to do such a thing. But in general, whatever I borrow or whatever I rent from somebody else, I rent a car. I rent some tool from Home Depot to help build my house. Am I allowed to let somebody else use that tool? So the Kitzur Shulhan Aruch over here is saying you're not allowed to, unless that you have explicit consent from the balabatim, from the owner of that thing, that you could do it. Afilu svarim, even the svarim, holy books, Chumash, Gemara, the Ramchal, the like, all of our svarim. Sheish mitzvah b'shalasan. When there's a mitzvah to lend them out to other people, they should be able to learn them. Don't say Don't say to yourself like this. Listen, I borrowed my friend's safer over here, and I would imagine my friend's a righteous fellow, and he would want to do mitzvahs with his possessions. So even if I didn't know for sure that he would let me lend it out to somebody else, I assume that he wants mitzvahs done with his things, so therefore I'll loan it out. I'll let somebody else borrow it. No, you can't say that. Why? Because maybe their will is that they don't really want it to be in the hands of another person. Because maybe in their eyes, such a person is not trustworthy to treat their property in the right way. He trusts. And therefore he says, here's my safer, my book, you can borrow it. But you want to let now somebody else borrow the book, maybe in the eyes of the original owner, he's not such a trustworthy person. He doesn't treat property, his own property, let alone other people's property, with the right dignity, and therefore he wouldn't let him have it. However, there is a condition over here that the Kitzur says will help in this case, and that is, if I borrowed someone's sefer and it's in my house, and somebody else comes over to my house, and they wanted to look inside that sefer while they're there in my house. So since that is the normal way that things are done, even if I come to your house and I decide I want to go over to your shelf and take a sefer off, that there's understood that I would be able to look inside of your sarm, your books. Therefore, if I have it in my house now as borrowed or rented, and somebody else comes in, they would be allowed to look inside the sefer. Nevertheless, says the Kitzur, that's only in a case where this third person now is coming in, and he is looking at it by himself. But not the two of them together. Why? Because the two of them together apparently is going to be too much wear and tear on the sefer, on the book. Maybe they're going to pull at the sides, at the edges, at the pages, and it's going to be worn out more than the original owner wants it to be. And therefore, if I want to pick up the sefer by myself, you're allowed to. If the two of us want to learn it together, so the Kitzur is saying over here, on that, you're going to have to be very particular about. However, it's known, if you know that the original owner of this book or anything else that is there would trust this person, this third person over here, to have in their possession, to watch over and the like, then will be permissible for the shayel, for the one who borrowed it originally, to now lend it over to this other person, and the seicha, the one who rented it, would be allowed to rent it out now, subleasing, I guess we'll call it sub-renting, to the other person. So that means that if you know that, let's say the third person's name is Levi, and Levi is someone that is trustable, he's someone that the original owner of this object trusts, and therefore he finds favor in his eyes, so he would have loaned it to him, or he would have rented it out to him himself. Therefore, you have the right to go and lend it, or to lend it out, or to rent it to him, if you would so like to do. Okay, that's the beginning of the halachas over here today. We have much more to speak about that's very pertinent to modern day shilas, the current day questions that come up, and we'll continue Bez Hashem tomorrow. All the best.